Hi there. Somebody asked me, well, no, actually, nobody's asked me, but, well, they might have done on another channel. They asked me, is there any sigil that you can use to counteract the effects of coronavirus? And the short answer is yes, but it's not what you think. And there's a few little points, a few caveats I have to add here before we get started on this discussion. Um, the first thing to say is that there's only a 25% chance of any sigil magic working at all, or indeed any magic, by which is meant change in accordance with will. Not even change of consciousness, but any kind of change. Sort of going beyond the unfortunate here, anyway. So that's the first thing. 1 in 20, 1 in 4 chance. For various technical reasons that we won't go into. The second reason is that, in a way, this world has the last laugh. So a person is walking along the street and they're so busy thinking about their sigil that they've acquired since watching this video that they fall down a great hole, which they didn't see coming, right? Isn't that just the way of things? The third thing is that if the demiurge sees you using magic, he gets a bit strange. I mean, having given you the knowledge of magic, if you use it, it gives you a spanking because he won't tolerate anyone thinking that they can be his equal. So that you stand in judgment immediately you use anything that the demiurge himself has given you. That's another way. That's the way it is in this world. And the other thing is that you're supposed to be here to learn to practice the following meditation. I am not this adversity. I am not this X. I am not these feelings. I am not these thoughts. I am not this situation. I am not this person. Blah blah blah. So I am that I am. That's what you're supposed to be cultivating I suppose as a super rational response to the way things are in this world. And of course, so if you keep taking everything away that is adverse to you, you're never going to learn this meditation. So, I'm afraid that you're kind of stuck with adversity. But certainly, so that's just the way that is as well. But having said that, obviously people will want to have non-adversity rather than adversity. We are hardwired to go away from adversity and go towards non-adversity instead, obviously. It's a bleeding obvious, really, to say that. But anyway, the other thing is that black magic is when you use magic for your own selfish ends. And having said that, in any case, you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs in this world either. So somewhere in the universe, you're going to break an egg in order to make your magical omelette, you see. So some people say, well, it can be ameliorated by using magic for other people. So basically, if you use a sigil to make sure that you're not infectious to anybody else, for example, that would be kind of thinking about other people rather than yourself. But I mean, having said that, why don't you just self-quarantine? Go to bed for a fortnight and just, do what people used to do when they got the flu. They used to sort of not go anywhere or do anything for a fortnight. But nowadays people are afraid of losing their jobs. I mean, literally, because if you're not there, they'll give you a job. You'll give your job to someone else. There's no contracts anymore, is there? You know what I mean? There's no unions to protect you at the workplace. So employers can do whatever they like, and there's so many people out there who could do your job perhaps better than you that they would feel no obligation to help you out at all. I'm just saying about that as well. So um, whether or not this coronavirus will make people more compassionate to other people is, I suppose, yet to be seen. It could go either way, couldn't it, really? People could either get more selfish or less selfish. We'll see. Which perhaps is the other sort of test of adversity as well, not just a meditational test, but also a moral test, a test of our moral stature, of our moral backbone in the face of adversity, in the face of collective and individual adversity. So I actually have to mention all these caveats before we start talking about sigils and everything, and the fact that they're not guaranteed to work in any case. So you even if they do work, you're going to do some harm somewhere as a result of doing it. So you take responsibility for your actions. So when you add up all these caveats, why bother, sort of thing. And yet you do have to bother. I mean, if you're going to use a sigil, you have to use it, not just think about it or watch a video about it. You actually have to get off your bottom and go and do the work, all right? Because sigils are work, okay? They're not just things that you buy from a new age shop and pretend, like you're sort of some kind of Reiki hippie, like, you've actually got to do the magical work for this. But yet it's very simple. It's incredibly simple. It's just you have to be bothered to apply it at all, which I never bothered to apply any of this stuff to myself. So I'm preaching to you, and it's do what I say, not do what I do, because I don't do it. And then I wonder why I get viruses. But there is actually a secret side to this whole issue, which I suppose I better go into it now, otherwise I'll forget about it. And that is that the coronavirus is not the issue. There's always viruses and diseases. There's always something in this world trying to kill you. Basically, HIV, syphilis, cholera, typhoid. Loads of stuff that could come, and we could get superbugs, and we could get the sweat back, and we could get bubonic plague, and always something wanted to kill you in this world. That's just the way this world is, as you know. But there are sort of things going on which you should know about. Viruses that are being deliberately created by people that want to see if they can create them, which affects your emotions. And these viruses actually are not physical viruses, although the term physical virus may be misleading in any case. But it might be that you are picking up viruses which are destroying your emotions and making you into a corporate drone and making you into an emotionless consumer, and making you belong to a uniform society in which everybody is aligned the same way, because that's more convenient for society to cope with, you see, than a whole load of individuals. So we have the kind of we pretend we're individuals, but in fact we're not individuals. And there are people experimenting on viruses to de-individualize us, you see, to put it kind of crudely and superficially. So I'm not going to go too much into that, except that there are sigils available to stop these psychic viruses from attacking you, psychic viruses which have been deliberately allowed to roam freely in the psychic environment by people that are just interested in doing this for the sake of knowledge. And they don't really care about who they experiment on, or if they experiment on humans or animals or angels or or anything really. They're just curious people, and they're working they're working for an agent of the demiurge who also has an intellectual curiosity about how many ways you can kill somebody or make them disabled or emotionally stunted or whatever. But I don't want to get too much into a sort of like a conspiracy theorist, because otherwise we'll be going into Alex Jones territory, and I definitely want to stay away from 300 pounds of anger, if you don't mind. So on to the sigil, which is very simple. I have a sigil here, which is based on the Holy Grail, hence the sort of connection with this channel, roughly. You start here and you follow the arrows down, and you make sort of one gesture of this. It's a two-part sigil, so this is one gesture. You start and finish there, and then you make a circle here, and then you do a line here, a line there, a line there. You just follow the arrows, okay? I've drawn it crudely like this because you're supposed to draw it by hand. Don't use a sort of drawing program, but I've turned all the drawing aids off and I'm just using this pencil here. So it's very crude, and it sort of emulates the way that somebody would do it. And you either do this in the air in front of you, and then you kind of hug the sigil, you take it into your aura, as it's like literally physically, you bring your hands towards your face after you've done this sigil. Or the other way of doing it, which is quite neat, is to draw the sigil out on a piece of paper, and you put your piece of paper here, and you put a glass of water here, and then with your right hand you just simply go like this. You draw the symbol for infinity, connecting the glass of water with your sigil, which is done on your paper, but you can use wax or any media at all, wood, metal, anything we want really. Well, perhaps not metal, but certainly any natural. Well, metal is natural ultimately, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, anything you feel like really, you draw the sigil on, but usually a piece of paper, and then you've got your glass of water there, and then you just simply drink a glass of water. Job done, literally. So you'd start here, and then you just follow the line round like that, basically, so that's one way of doing it. The third way of doing it is just to close your eyes and try to visualize this sigil. But you don't have to fix this sigil. You can allow this sigil to morph into lots of different sigils, and it will morph naturally into lots of different sigils. And these sigils are going to be sort of corresponding to your individual needs and to your individual genetic makeup, you see, and your biochemistry. So having initiated the sigil in your mind, as it were, imagined the initial one, it then just naturally allow the sigil to morph into anything it wants, and then finally you won't be able to get an image at all. It will just all dissolve, and that's the end of the session. Open your eyes, and that's it. So these three methods, drawing the sigil out in front of you and pulling it into your aura, putting it into your body, charging water, and then just freely visualizing the sigil and allowing it to morph within your imagination into whatever is needed. These are sort of the three ways. But the idea of this sigil is to make yourself less infectious or non-infectious, completely non-infectious, as well as dissolving the virus. The virus away from you. But of course, we're not actually even talking now about physical viruses such as corona. We're talking about viruses which are actually being created on the psychic level. But they're created on the psychic level sometimes as a response to our emotional response to the actual physical epidemic, if you see what I mean. So I'm actually not really even saying that this sigil will necessarily get rid of the physical virus. It's actually all about viruses which are operating on a much deeper level than just the physical. And yet also there is a physical, perhaps there's a physical effect as well. But as I said in the beginning, this cannot be guaranteed. It's only literally 1 in 25, 1 in 4 chance of a sigil working on any level. Okay, and plus all the other caveats with which I started this video, they apply as well, even to this so-called psychic sigil. But there you are. I hope the situation is not too complicated for you to understand. I suppose this video does depend on people having a previous experience of magical things and psychic things. And of course, I must say to you, and this is the biggest thing of all, I must say to you that you should not get trapped, okay, on the hamster wheel of psychism. There's a physical hamster wheel, which is the hamster wheel of this world, and then there are hamster wheels going all the way up to just about the spiritual level. And you're given a piece of cheese for going around this hamster wheel for the entertainment of the demiurge. So don't get trapped in any of these practices, and do them with spontaneity, and don't do them for very long. Just have like a course of doing these sigils, and then forget about them. And of course, they do say that the real power of the sigil is in forgetting it. So use it for a time, and then you don't use it. And then you can go back and use it again sometime later, or then you can never use it again your whole life. And it will continue to work, perhaps work more effectively when you're consciously not thinking of it, which is one of the powerful things about sigil magic, as it were. Again, this video is a bit advanced, I suppose, for the beginner. But suck it and see. Really, that's the answer with all these things. Try them out. If they don't work, well, I haven't charged you, have I? Do you know what I mean? This is all free knowledge. Distribute it. Use it as you will. But use it responsibly, and use it for helping other people rather than yourself, or for helping people and yourself, I suppose. Which is another thing about this world, is that we help ourselves and we help other people at the same time, I suppose, and we help other people, we help ourselves at the same time. There's a sort of symbiotic relationship between those two actions, as it were. So there you are, happy sigil magic working, or whatever you want to call it. But remember also, I am not this adversity, and that's kind of the sigil that you really should be cultivating and concentrating on, as it were.